So, are you going to write your own script, or are you going to allow the script that's basically being written for you, simply written by the world around you, determine the day? Most people just allow the script to be written for them, and they play in the play. They play the role that's given to them, as Shakespeare says, the world is a stage and all men are but actors. They just allow themselves to act in that play. They don't realize there's another way. There's a way in which you can become the star of your own movie. You can write your own script. You can produce your own play, and you can do it all. It's what this channel teaches you to do. My name is Javier, and this is The Real Javier Novo. It's a channel where we talk about interiorism and how it can help you living free. And I just wanted to read a passage from Neville Goddard and one of his greatest books called Awakened Imagination. He has a chapter called The Coin of Heaven. And of course that coin has two sides. It's thought and speech. He says your inner speech is perpetually written all around you in happenings. Learn to relate these happenings to your inner speech, and you will become self-taught. By inner speech is meant those mental conversations which you carry on with yourself. They may be inaudible when you are awake because of the noise and distractions of the outer world of becoming, but they are quite audible in deep meditation and dream. But whether they be audible or inaudible, you are their author and fashion your world in their likeness. You're responsible, ladies and gentlemen. You're solely responsible for your inner speech. And as inner is outer, whatever your inner speech is going to simply be replayed back to you in the outer world. We know that. And in the book of Daniel says, there's a God in heaven, and heaven is within you, that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. Inner speech from premises of fulfilled desire, Neville goes on, is the way to create an intelligible world for yourself. Observe your inner speech, for it is the cause of future action. That's both action of what you do and action that's taken by others. And as we know in interiorism, as Neville says, everything else is you pushed out. So others are you, basically. Inner speech reveals the state of consciousness from which you view your world. And inner speech is so important, and people know that it's important, and they try to change it, guys. And sometimes, depending on how long we've been in the dream, and depending on how much credence we have given to the dream, how real we've made it, it's harder to reverse those patterns. Sometimes we try to change our inner speech, we do it, and of course the secret is not doing it to change the outer, but rather simply do it for the good feeling of it and then just allow it to happen. But so many of us have tried to change our inner conversations. Let's face it, guys, it's like going on a diet. You never do it. And that's because of one of the secrets, another of the esoteric secrets that Neville talks about. The fact that the subconscious is like a woman, and it is characterized in the scripture like a woman. And of course, in order to change anything on the outer, you have to make an impression of the subconscious. But good luck trying to make an impression in that subconscious. For any of you that are married, for any of you that are men who are married, if you've ever tried to persuade your wife with reason or with something they don't want to do, you know what I'm talking about. Good luck with that. So what we have to do is we have to find another way in that's not trying to persuade them, but that will yet over time wear down those barriers of resistance. And I think the best method for this, guys, is none other than robotic affirmations. And we have made a few videos about robotic affirming on this channel. And I had not realized the single most successful video in the history of this channel, I believe now it has over 10,000 views, is an explanatory video that we did almost a year ago, or I think over a year ago, about robotic affirming. And I will put the link to that video in the description. You can watch it. I explain the whole technical aspects behind robotic affirming. I explain what it is, why it's useful. We're not going to go back and go into a deep dive on this. That is a masterclass in robotic affirming. But right now, I just wanted to remind you to do robotic affirming, and I wanted to give you a little template for how to do it. I think robotic affirming is the most useful way, especially for those who are having a hard time visualizing, especially those who are having a hard time using some of these other techniques to penetrate the subconscious. Because remember, at root it is all one. So at root there's no subconscious. That's just a name that we've given to it when we sort of came into duality and separated our rational mind from our irrational mind. But I'll give the example again of a man and his wife. A man goes and tries to reason with his wife. Honey, I think it's good that we do this. Here's why. She's not going to listen, because women mainly do not deal in logic. They mainly deal in feeling. But you don't have the feeling yet, because you're still feeling overwhelmed by the circumstances of the world. So what do? Well, first of all, you figure out exactly what it is you want. And I know a lot of you know what it is that you want, but it's very important in this experiment of robotic affirming to figure out exactly what it is, guys. So let's just say it's $2,000. It could be an amount of money. It could be a life situation, but I want you to boil it down and get very specific about what you want. Of course you don't believe it. Of course it feels uncomfortable because you don't have it. And a lot of you have been trying to get it, trying to change the circumstances around your 3D reality for many years, and it hasn't worked. And the secret is it doesn't work again because you're trying to change it. And as we know, when you try to change something, you're simply holding yourself in that pattern of, well, trying to change it, so it never changes. So I want to take the example of $200,000. Let's say you just want $200,000. You have no idea where it's going to come from. And you can visualize getting a check in your mailbox and so on, and that's beautiful. But you might not believe that. That might still keep you from entering into that state. So how do we do that? We make a simple statement, guys, a robotic statement. I now have received $200,000. I have now received $200,000. And of course, if you refer to my previous videos, we call this robotic affirming because you're not trying to feel it. You're not trying to believe it. You don't care if you feel it. In fact, if you don't feel it, that's good. What you're doing is you're repeating it like a mantra. And as we've explained in our previous videos, what that does is eventually the subconscious will go on board. And it's like an example given of a wife. You know, her husband didn't really like that she was watching TV, so he tried to disconnect the TV, and we all know how that went. They almost got divorced. So what a very wise man or a scholar told him was, no, you put the TV back in, you plug it back in, let her have that. But then you go off in a corner and you just read, and you do that every day. And then what happened was eventually the wife joined him, and they were reading together and not watching TV. So you just go in your little corner and you repeat those robotic affirmations. So it doesn't matter if your subconscious comes on board, because eventually something's going to change. And we talked about that filter. That filter loosens at certain times. It loosens when you're in gratitude. It loosens when you're in appreciation. It loosens before you're about to sleep. And then when it loosens, that's when the essence of that robotic affirmation is going to be able to enter. So excuse me. So you have that robotic affirmation of, I now have $200,000. I have now received $200,000. And then you just set yourself a time, and it's actually good to do it, I think, 3 times a day, 5 minutes a day, and then 1 day a week you can go hardcore and you can repeat these for 30 minutes a day, even an hour a day, guys. It's like the story of Millikan that Neville Goddard talked about, and we referred to that in our previous videos. But then you just repeat that to yourself. You can sit, stand. I find it very nice to walk while I'm doing it. And you walk and you just repeat that affirmation, that robotic affirmation, as a mantra. And you don't care if you feel it, guys. And what you will notice, that eventually within a few days, sometimes within 1 or 2 days, you will feel that. And then, guys, you transition from robotic affirmation to actually an affirmation of what is. And you actually feel what that is. Your imagination will start to crystallize around that. And that's when you know that your subconscious is starting to come on board. And when that happens, you need do nothing else. You simply live as if you live in the wish fulfilled. You live from the wish fulfilled, and you do not lift a finger. But until you feel it, you just keep doing those robotic affirmations. And another little trick that I found that really works on these, it's going to sound funny to some of you. We talked about this in previous videos. It's what monks do. It's what people that repeat mantras do. You can sing it or chant it, guys. So it's going to seem a little silly, but you do it to yourself. And if no one's around, you can do it actually out loud, quietly. You can say, for example, I now have $200,000. I've now received my 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 $200,000. Keep doing that, guys. I promise you, first of all, if nothing else, the vibration of that from your vocal cords is going to make your body feel really good. And then, of course, when your body feels really good, your subconscious is going to automatically be in that state of receptivity. This is going to happen for you quicker than you thought possible. That's how you go from trying to persuade your subconscious to simply taking charge of the conscious mind, robotically affirming, using it as a mantra. And I promise you, once you start feeling that real, once your body gets in sync, your subconscious is on board, and it's going to blow your mind how quickly that thing comes into your life. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do comment, like the video, share the videos. Let me know your testimonials for how this has worked. This is the most powerful method so far that I've found in manifesting for people who can't seem to get their subconscious on board. So till very soon, guys, this is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, wishing you a wonderful week.